Many people have asked, what are you doing for the rest of 2022 during this crypto bear market? Well, in this video, we're going to go over some of the things that we're doing to approach this season. Hey guys, welcome back to Anti-Hedge, where we talk about all things crypto. If you like this kind of content, you should definitely like, comment, and subscribe and stay up to date with all the information as it's coming out. But one thing I do gotta say is this is not financial advice, and everything here is strictly for news and research purposes. So with that in mind, you should enjoy the subject of this video. What are we doing in 2022? So we're going to keep our strategy for the rest of 2022 quite simple, and it's going to be easy for you guys to follow because many people in our comment sections and who have been following this channel have been curious to know, what are we doing? What are some of our choices and picks for the season? How do we navigate it the anti-hedge way? To start, our altcoins, we're going to be slowly DCAing into them. So the ones that we truly believe in, the ones with great fundamentals, things that we think will blow up almost inevitably, or at least inevitably in our opinion, are going to be what we're talking about briefly. Just to say this is what we're buying, and then you could know kind of what our portfolios look like. Because a lot of people have been curious to know, what are you actually holding? And we're going to go over that in this video. The other thing too that I wanted to mention is we are buying Bitcoin. The reason being is Bitcoin is king. And if you watch our video about Ethereum potentially being investigated by the SEC, it'll explain why we think Bitcoin is so important in this market and why it's great to hold it regardless of the volatility associated to it right now. The last thing I wanted to mention too is that while we're buying everything, DCAing into altcoins and Bitcoins, it's very important that you understand one thing. We are not rushing. We are taking it very slow DCAs. Every week we put a little bit and we're just playing it slowly. And then when we see a leg down, a relatively big leg down, we just buy a bigger amount. And then we slowly keep dollar cost averaging because our goal here is not to catch the ultimate low. We're not going to get that. But if we consistently buy the dips and play it slowly, we believe personally in the long run, we're going to get paid out much better like that. And then from there, there's not ever going to be a moment where we're thinking, oh, we didn't catch the dip. Oh, we put all our money in too early. You lose all that. Then from there, it's just like a strategy. It's like you're just stacking up slowly but surely. And then when the time comes and we're back in a bull market, that's where we capitalize. But for now, the best thing to do is play it slow. There's no rush. We don't know when this bear market's going to end yet. I'm thinking 2023 in the springtime. But it depends on how fast it takes for us to pivot back into a regular economy where we're not raising interest rates heavily, as well as when the recession starts to cool off, and whether or not Ethereum gets investigated, which is a pretty big deal, considering that a lot of tokens are ERC20. So guys, as it's been mentioned before, we were talking about what are we DCAing and what does our portfolio look like during these times. It's been asked frequently on our channel, and now we're going to give you the answer. To start, we have Bitcoin. Like I mentioned many times, it is the king of the crypto world. It has no CEO, it's decentralized, and regardless of volatility, we genuinely believe that you should be stacking a good portion of your wealth into it. That's my personal opinion. That was the first one I wanted to start with before we move on to our altcoins, because at the end of the day, a lot of people overlook Bitcoin. They talk about it like it's dead technology. It's very much alive. And with all the regulatory stuff that might come, it seems like Bitcoin is still a safe and stable option regardless of volatility. The next altcoin, or rather the first altcoin that we're going to mention, is LUKSO. LUKSO, we've mentioned it many times on this channel. A lot of people come here to get their LUKSO news. This is our favorite altcoin. Reason being is that the fundamentals are solid. We believe in the team, and we think that there's still a lot of room for growth, considering how small the market cap is and considering what they're potentially approaching. So LUKSO is our number one in our portfolio. After that, Veracity. We've covered it on this channel, and 100% worth looking into. Their proof of view technology is solid. They had a lot of momentum during the last bull market, and considering how much lower the price is compared to its peak, there's a lot of room for growth for it to go back even just to its last all-time high. which is why I consider it on the top of my list in terms of what I'm putting in my portfolio. Next, Polytrade. Polytrade is definitely an extremely small cap coin, very, very, very tiny. I see a lot of potential for growth there. The reason I'm stacking it in my portfolio currently is because it's under $30 million market cap. At this point, it might even be under 10, I'm not quite sure. So that is really down from the all-time high, but also they've been getting a lot of awards in India, and Polygon's founder, Matic, a lot of people believe in Matic, is on the advisory board for Polytrade. So if Polytrade continues doing what it's doing, which is trade finance and just securing loans on a global scale using crypto, and just continues on that baseline, it's going to have a lot of growth. It's a small cap with solid fundamentals, decent team behind it, and they're gaining more accolades as we go. Worth considering. Another one that I wanted to mention as well is HBAR. We covered it once on this channel, and we haven't really covered it much since, but I did want to mention that I am putting a small amount into HBAR as well. Reason being, it's backed by IBM and has a lot of solid names behind it. And with these solid names, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes up as one of the bigger altcoins of the future. It's also a new technology. It's the most green of all the blockchains, and it's also proof of stake. So definitely worth considering in these times where we're dollar cost averaging through. And it's also in my portfolio as well. Another coin that I wanted to mention, and we have not covered on this channel yet, is Loopring. It's a layer 2 solution, kind of similar to Matic, but it started gaining traction, and I think it's going to continue to gain traction in the next bull market. So it's a layer 2 solution. It plans to help Ethereum scale, but it's had some decent news developments that have popped up, and I will cover it on this channel over time once we see the proper opportunity to do so. On this list also is Litecoin. The reason being is that Litecoin is kind of like the silver for Bitcoin, which is our digital gold, but also they've transitioned to a privacy network using Nimblewimble, which is basically something that obscures transactions and allows it to be more privatized. So I'm a firm believer of privacy coins being a big part of the next bull market, which is also one of the reasons why I'm buying Monero, XMR. Another coin that I haven't covered on this channel, but worth covering in this video. I'm definitely buying some of it. It's actually held pretty stable considering that most of the market has corrected. XMR is still relatively high value. It didn't drop that much compared to other coins, and the reason being is that it has mostly community-based transactions, meaning that the people that are actually buying Monero are the community, and it's not really a hype coin. It's something that people buy and use for functionality. And the ring signatures are so solid on Monero that even the IRS and some of the world's top hackers can't even break the cryptography on it. And personally, for me, when I see something that's that solid, that has cryptography that can't be broken, it's worth buying. Just on the fundamental aspect that it is not only a privacy coin, but it's not something that gets hacked very easily. On to the next one, Boson Protocol. We've covered it a few times on this channel. Personally, when we covered it, I know that it was extremely early for that project. It has a small market cap, but I think it has a very ambitious idea, which is the ability to disrupt e-commerce. And if they decide to disrupt e-commerce and they successfully do so, they plan on creating a digital mall where people will be able to set up digital marketplaces in that mall. And then you'll be able to go in, redeem your crypto or whatever in that mall, and then have the goods sent directly to you. And that's a really cool idea because going to the mall used to be an experience. What if they revive that experience in a digital world and then create a place where people could have their own little marketplace without having to pay exorbitant prices on rent, and then be able to just drop ship it directly to you? I see value in that. Personally, I think that could revolutionize malls as well as e-commerce and drop shipping. that's one of the reasons why I'm taking a bet on boson. The last one that I wanted to mention now was OLT. OLT, we've covered it in the channel. It's been down pretty hard. And obviously, when something is down that hard, for me personally, I'll dollar cost average into it if I believe in the project. I do think OLT has a solid team behind it. They've had a lot of hype, a lot of up and down, a lot of this, a lot of that. However you want to look at it, personally, you could call it this or you could call it that. If it's that down, I don't mind putting small amounts into it. And I'm not saying this is something where I'm throwing a lot of money into it. This is something where if I'm buying it, it's going to be $20, $30 at a time because of how much lower it is in terms of what its value was from the top. And then if it goes back up, even just to where it was before, I'll consider selling a good chunk of it to get back into the profit range and then hold the rest of it. And OLT is more of a long shot for me. And one of the reasons why I will dollar cost average into it is because I want to get my average price up, but also I think that in terms of their team, they have a decent team, and I think that there's room for it to grow. And that's one of the reasons why I would put small amounts into that one. And that's also one of the reasons why I put it last on my list, just to make small purchases, build up your bag, and then once it flips, that's where you're going to make your money. And as an Easter egg, I wanted to throw this in as well, is we are also looking into estates and virtual land. Decentraland, Sandbox, BLOKTOPIA, which is another coin that we've covered on this channel, and I would consider holding some of the coins because of how much it's dropped, but more about the land. I personally think that land has room for growth, and if it ends up the next opportunity for advertisements of larger companies, you're going to be happy that you're holding an estate. And considering how much cheaper the estates are now compared to how much they were before, it could be worth grabbing a piece of land or two here and there just to say, oh, I have it. Now, obviously, it depends on what your prospects are for how much risk you want to take. Me personally, I'm a crypto guy, so risk is something that I'm not really scared of. The whole point is to risk as much as possible, sadly, because the whole space is being built, meaning that nothing's guaranteed until it's in your hands, really. That's why I did want to mention lands as part of the altcoins that I would be picking up. As far as NFTs go, I'm not really touching too many pictures or JPEGs. I'm focused more on the lands themselves. Because if the lands do get developed in the virtual world, we're going to be happy to be holding an estate or two. So that's what our portfolio consists of so far, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. So moving forward from our picks, which we just showed you, one thing I wanted to mention is everything we're buying on these exchanges and everything that we're doing, we are putting it on a ledger. We are putting it on a treasure. We are putting it on offline storages. The reason being is that A, it's safer, but also B, there's the possibility that in the next year or two, A, they're going to start regulating these self-custodial wallets, but also B, exchanges might get regulated. So depending on how the cards fall, you don't want to have all your wealth online in a hot wallet where other people are holding your crypto. You want to have ownership over it. The whole point of this movement is to have ownership over your crypto. So the number one key important thing after you see all these picks is to get everything offline in a wallet safe. Once it's safe in your wallet, you could comfortably be like, okay, it's there, it's offline, I'm not thinking about it. I could sit here and stack until the bull market comes back. Next part I wanted to mention is we are also stacking cash. Cash is king in a recession. It's good to have cash, especially considering the fact that they are trying to take away our cash. They're trying to move us to a digital system, and they're already talking about CBDCs, which we'll talk about in a future video, and what the existential threats are for having a CBDC and why we need cash to keep the system somewhat honest and favorable for us, the little people. Last thing I wanted to mention is for the rest of 2022, I will be stacking gold, silver, because it's king's money. They'll always get you what you need. Gold is solid, silver is solid, and it's tangible. We do not hold paper gold or silver because it's worthless. If you ever need to redeem your paper gold and silver, which we saw at the beginning of 2022, they said, oh, well, we can't really do that. everyone tried to redeem it at the same time, which means that kind of screwed. So the goal is to hold physical silver, physical gold in this time. And personally, I could see a lot of upside coming for those things, especially if we are moving into an inflationary world. Gold and silver are solid, and they'll get you bread when you need it. That's why we stand by it. It's why it's good to have it in every investment portfolio, and it's something that's relatively easier to attain. And even if you don't use it to buy bread and things don't go as bad as what could potentially happen in a recession, you'll always know that your gold and silver could be collateralized for a loan. So let's say you stack up over the course of years of like $10,000 or $20,000 worth of gold and silver, just an example. Those are something that you could collateralize for a loan, put down for a mortgage. It has value. Banks could take loans against that. So it's worth considering and worth having in your portfolio. And then lastly, I wanted to mention is food and water. Can't go wrong by having a bunch of dried rice, dried beans, things that are non-perishable, which could last for years as is, properly sealed, because you could eat it. That's something that, you know what, a lot of people, economists could be like, oh, invest in this, invest in that. But you know what, not a lot of them will tell you, hey, just buy a shit ton of food and make sure that, you know what, if you need to eat, you could eat if you need to, or drink if you need to. Those are the key things that are important. And let's say you buy a bag of rice and the price goes up due to inflation or recession or this or whatever, goes up 200 or 300%. You're going to be happy that you bought your rice while it was cheap and put it away, and you don't have to worry about putting all your money just to eat. So obviously that's if things get really bad. We're not hoping to get there, and I don't necessarily think we are going to get there, but better safe than sorry. Dry foods, water, never go out of style. Consider it as a part of your portfolio, so to speak. I hope that this video was informative and you got all the information that you needed from it. A lot of people were asking to know what our portfolio consists of, and now you actually got a little peek as to what we're doing and how we're approaching things for the rest of 2022, and probably a good amount of 2023. But we'll cover 2023 when we get there, in case there is a shift in what we're doing ideology, so to speak. If you stayed till the end, we really appreciate your viewership. Definitely like, comment, and subscribe so you can stay up to date with Anti-Hedge news updates and everything that we have to talk about. And guys, take care of yourselves. Health is number one. Take care.
Anti-Hedge.